Well, hi everyone. Welcome to a Life
Hey,
Designed Roundtable discussions. This week we're talking about navigating change. It's
mm,
wonderful to see you. Jonathan, how are you doing?
Namaskaram, everyone. I am doing great today.
Oh,
It's
good.
such a great day.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of Saturday, for sure.
Oh, nice. Wonderful. How about for you, Special K? For you, Brian, I see those tropical trees behind you,
Yeah,
Sri Lanka.
I'm doing very well. Be heading to Vietnam soon, probably within less than a month.
Oh,
And yeah, just happy to talk about this topic today. I like to share all these different perspectives.
yeah, it's good to have you here. We may have other people pop in too. But navigating change is something every coach works with a client. I mean, it's like breathing in and breathing out. Coaches are
Yeah.
sometimes hired because of a change that's happened or a change that someone is seeking. Like, I want this and I don't have it, or I want to improve it. So we sort of, with our bread and butter, are involved with change. And
Mm,
here in Austin, Texas, where I am, we're between rainstorms. And in between rainstorms, it's 102. So we welcome the rain so that it can cool things off. The plants, they burn and then they grow really tall, and then they burn and then they grow really tall. So we've started the hurricane season. So once in a while, the hurricanes come into the Gulf rather than over to Florida, and we get some of that in Central Texas here. So, but hey, we have amazing slides per usual. So let's see if we can share my screen, and we'll look at my slides. Share. Okay. And I'm going to go to my first one, and we're going to go to present. Ta-da! Okay, here we go. Navigating change. Okay, so here's 3 quotes about change. The first one is from Karl Lagerfeld, and he's a German fashion designer. And in fashion, the seasons change clothing all the time. And he says change is the healthiest way to survive. So if you're in the fashion world, change is your, way to go, because season over season, you're changing the kinds of things you're designing. Our next quote comes from George Bernard Shaw. He's an American playwright. He says, progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. I think we find that as coaches, changing your mind is where change begins, right? So you think it first and do it second. And then our final one comes from this famous quote from Albert Einstein, a German-born theoretical physicist who came to work in America after the war. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We have
yeah.
to think differently in order to change some of the problems we may have given ourselves. So, okay. Here's what I was hoping to have our topics kind of cover. And if you need to wander off or away from these, I think we can do that. But common changes that people go through are moving to a new home, or in special case, moving to a new country, beginning a new job. So sometimes it's your first job, or it's a new job at a new company, and then beginning or ending relationships. So I think most people that would view our conversation have had one or all of these happen. And so we can look at, these areas to start with in terms of change. And I'll stop sharing. We have some memes at the end, and we'll discuss some songs too. But
Mm.
Brian, is there an area you'd like to start talking about change?
Yeah. Yeah, so we do songs to bring into the discussion here, just because it's like a fun way to
Yeah.
talk about stuff. So the one I saw was Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror.
Oh, yeah.
And what I like about this song, so the lyrics go, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. So what I like about this song lyric is it's about let's change ourselves first,
Mhm.
you know, instead of just complaining about the world, because that's easy to do. Everybody can basically
We all
shit
are well
talk, you know?
practiced at complaining about the
Yeah, yeah. So,
world.
but if we focus on changing ourselves first, then you're actually becoming a leader. Like you've walked the talk,
Mhm,
you've lived it, you've done it. And
mhm,
then you can actually inspire other people to
mhm,
make those same types of changes because you're living it, you've done it.
mhm,
So I think that's a good quote about, making changes. And as far as navigating change, one thing is just in a strategic sense, I think it's really good to have backup plans
mhm,
anytime you do anything,
mhm,
like whether you have a backup plan for your job, for your source of
mhm.
income, or for a relationship or something if it doesn't work out. I think it's good to have, I'm not saying sleep around with everyone or this or that, but it's good to at least have some type of strategy of what you're gonna do if things don't work out. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Like, and do everything you can to make things work that you want to work. But I think having a backup plan is a good thing. And then just having different ways to work through emotions around change. Like, so here we teach like Sedona method and EFT or tapping. Um, you can do hypnosis with Jonathan to help you work through emotions. Like, or you can do meditation processes.
mhm,
Anything you can do to help you work through emotions around big changes in your life
mhm.
when they happen. Just to have some kind of toolkit you can use for that, or at least people you can reach out to, like coaches you can reach out to,
Mhm.
family members, friends, like having, good people in your corner. And I think, yeah, the other thing I think is just as we go through life, staying flexible, staying adaptable,
Mhm.
continuing to learn, being open minded, so that when things do suddenly change in your life, you can shift and you can take it in a positive direction. Just like me and you were talking about,
Mhm.
and we'll probably make a video for this. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails on your
Yes.
boat to
Yes.
to help use the wind to redirect you
Mhm.
in a better direction that you actually want to go in.
Mhm.
So things can change suddenly like the wind, but if you can adjust your sails, if you can use that to steer you in a positive direction
Mhm.
and like redirect the energy of
Mhm.
what's happening into a positive direction, then I think that really helps people navigate change.
Jonathan, I want to invite you in here. Stephen Covey, who wrote the book 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, instead of saying, "Are you responsible?" he would say, "Are you response-able?" Meaning when change happens or you're facing a difficulty, are you able to respond in a way that could give you an optimum outcome, or respond in a way where you can take the best out of the change that you're facing? And I think sometimes when people are faced with a change, especially when they didn't choose themselves, somebody broke up with them, they didn't do the breaking up, or they were let go from a job, or other things that happen that they have to respond to. There's some fear and some discomfort. Also, did I fail because this didn't turn out the way I wanted? How do you work with people as they navigate change that might be difficult or they might find scary?
Scary. Sometimes I know it can be terrifying, like
Yes.
beyond scary.
Mhm, mhm,
Some wise man before I was born, I don't remember the name, but he said, um, the illiterate of the 21st century are going to be the ones that cannot or do not have the capacity to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So
mhm.
that's a lot of change happening
Wow.
uh, in real time. Um,
Yes. Yes.
so yeah, the only certain thing for sure it's change.
Yes.
Whether we like it or don't like it
Yes.
doesn't matter. So I also understand how terrifying it can be, the idea of a change, but not being flexible, or having like a open mind to understand that it's going to happen at some point on whatever area that is going to happen.
Mhm.
It's something that it can definitely be explored. It's not that complicated in reality. It's just like opening somebody's or not opening, but actually more like destroying the terror barrier, which is actually quite simple. So once they actually see that there's a crystal barrier that they cannot see, but it's there because they can feel it. Like
Yeah.
change can be terrifying. I mean, changing neighborhood. I know, like for example, my brother owns a moving company, so he helps people moving from house to the new house,
Mhm.
whatever. So sometimes talking to the customers, the clients, I can see they are actually it's extremely stressful and terrifying thing. Like they're
Yeah.
like sometimes it's
Yeah.
exciting, but at the same time they're like, oh my god, I don't know how it's going to be. So they're like, it's
Yeah.
quite
The
terrifying.
uncertainty creates discomfort.
Yes,
Yes.
and yeah, so it is actually, yeah, we can definitely help with that. Just opening their minds to the idea that change it's inevitable.
Mhm.
So it's like digesting the truth first.
Mhm.
Once they have digested the truth that change is always happening,
Mhm.
it's unstoppable. It's like time. Oh, actually, it reminds me of the song that I was thinking of. It's called "The Times Are Changing." Bob Dylan. It's a great song.
Yeah.
They cannot get more explicit than that when it comes
Yeah.
to change. uh,
Very good. Very good. Well,
but yeah, so definitely.
I was just going to say that sometimes I think about the way people manage change. It's like the way they cook. You know, imagine if you're making a tomato sauce and you're going to put pasta in it. Some people put a little sugar. Some people put basil or rosemary. Some people put a ton of garlic. You know, it's tomato sauce, it's pasta sauce, but everyone does it a little differently. And then what shape of noodle is going to go in there? And so as people navigate change, they have to learn how to do it their way. So sometimes people want to dive in. You know, the water's fine. Jump in, both feet. Let's get wet. Let's figure it out. And other people like, hold on, hold on. You two people go first and tell me how it's going before I jump in. Like, it's not how I do it. And so learning about yourself, how you manage change, because as both of you have said, there's no not changing. Change
Yeah,
is coming. So it's a life skill to manage something you're going to have to manage. And learning how the best way is for you is really important so that the next change and the change after that and the change after that, you can navigate them more comfortably for yourself. And, you know, there are people who like adrenaline and they like big challenges and goals. And so they put up big changes for themselves and they go for it. And that's part of their personality. It's how they like to live. Other people don't want things to change. They want to drive the same way to work. They want to make their meatloaf the same way. They want to turn on the news at 6 p.m. You know, they like the routine. It's comforting.
But that's also it's funny that you mentioned that because those kinds of humans that I have personally met,
Mhm.
they suffer the most.
Yes,
They do
yes,
because it's beyond their control. Uh,
yes.
it's
Well, I do think that just acknowledging, hello, Zian, we'll be with you in just a second. Welcome. Um, as we figure out how best we navigate change, then people that we are changing with, like, okay, we decided to buy the new house, we're moving to the new neighborhood, or okay, I'm gonna go get a better job, and now I have to figure out what that's gonna mean. They can put systems in place that help them navigate it. So there's more than one way to navigate. But as Brian said, you adjust your sails so that you can navigate the best you can in the change that we know that's going to come. So we can't keep things the same way. And we have to become comfortable with a little bit of discomfort from time to time as things change. Welcome, Zian.
Hi, good morning.
How are you? So we're talking about navigating change today. And go ahead. Did you have some initial thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, in response to your question of how I'm doing, I was going to say I'm a little rushed, but so I realized I need to wake up a bit earlier than I planned.
Yeah.
But with that said, yeah, navigating change, I was going to say there's an art to it, and there are objective ways of doing it that usually work for most people, and then there are subjective ways that everyone needs to go through a process of fine-tuning. So you sent me an article to read in consideration for our roundtable, for the subject of our roundtable today.
Mm-hmm.
One thing on there on the list was to embrace your edges. Like, be okay with your shortcomings and the parts of you that aren't perfect, and the things that you haven't mastered, and what you're still learning, because there is a learning curve to everything. Mm-hmm. You know, don't beat yourself up for not being perfect, because you're not going to beat yourself up for what makes you unique, are you? And that includes your shortcomings, your challenges, your struggles, the things that you just haven't mastered yet. And those things are what make you unique. They're part of your story. They add to the beauty of who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. And just being a whole individual. Mm-hmm. And then number 2 on there was something I really liked. Number 2 and number 3 kind of go hand in hand, but number 2 was stop arguing against your resistance. Mm-hmm. Like when you encounter like a period of time where you find yourself slipping back into an old habit, or some old sense of inner criticism that you thought you'd dealt with or handled or moved past, go back to it. Like, just let yourself slip back into that for a day or so, or however long, and then instead of making it wrong and beating yourself up for it, get curious about what the deeper intelligence and meaning behind that old pattern is. Mm-hmm. And then you can more effectively work past it, or not be less likely to slip back into it. Mm-hmm. And then number 3 was stop the drama. So that kind of goes hand in hand with arguing against your resistance. Like, don't, again, just like I can't stress this enough, but don't beat yourself up and feel the need to stick to a certain routine. Like, when it comes to sleep, mm-hmm. That's a big, like, sleep is productive. None of us, most of us don't understand that, but it's very productive, because if you don't sleep well, if you're not getting good sleep, you probably can't be effective for the day that you're working. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us live under this capitalistic model of productivity, and that means waking up early, waking up at a certain time. And if we haven't slept well, oh well, we go to the job not feeling at our best. Mm-hmm. But sleep is productive, and we can afford to sleep in, to have more sleep, especially when we own our own business. Mm-hmm. When we're making our own time and carving out our own way for the world, and we're not working for an employer. Mm-hmm. So just not playing out this silent little drama in your head where you're the victim, or you are coming down on yourself for not following a certain model of limitation according to what our society sets out and imposes on us.
I really appreciate that. We talked about how individually we navigate change a little bit, and I want to come back to our sleep expert, Jonathan, here in a minute. But, the first time we do something, we don't do it perfectly, but somehow we harbor this idea that we should get good at it fast.
Yeah.
It's just the baseline assumption that, well, I may not be perfect to begin with, but I should be good at it pretty fast. And that may or may not be the case. And so, Jonathan, I wonder when people make changes and they feel like they're failing, or like, I made this change, it's not working out yet how I want it to do, what my intentions were. I'm only hitting 6 out of 8 cylinders or 8 out of 10 of what I hope to accomplish. How do they reset in a change so they know, okay, well, now this is how you modify to just continuously improve? What is your experience with that?
It's basically it's taking them to the next best level of like making them the most competent versions of themselves. When you become the most competent version of yourself, which that's different for everyone.
And it
We'll
takes
have
time.
different,
It takes some amount of time,
yes,
right? Mm-hmm.
it is different for everyone. So because some humans can achieve more levels of competence, it's easier for them and it's fast. Some humans are so fast and adaptable, but some of them, they might take some time. But still, even if they can only grow so much,
Mm-hmm.
they still have the opportunity to become that best version of themselves.
Yes.
So when you work on yourself in like areas that that are important to you, that's when it's easy. Like something happens,
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be prepared because the universe is not that
Mm-hmm.
evil. It's not like evil. It's not there like to get you. It's but it's there to
The
get you
world
if you're like
hates
lazy.
me.
Yeah, if you're lazy and you don't like to change just because of the sake of like, it's going to get you and it's going to feel like it's so evil. But the reality is not like that. Very, it's very equitative. It's very pleasant actually. So yeah, just help them to become the best version of themselves. For everybody is going to be different, but they can achieve some level of competence that it's going to allow them to be able to manage change on any area, any dimension of life. And also, I was thinking it's actually funny to think that sometimes humans have the tendency to do like they love to change things just for the sake of changing. It's like,
Out of
hey,
boredom.
notice me.
Out of
It's
boredom.
like I have nothing to do. I'm just going to change something dramatically. Just
Mm-hmm.
so that also happens. But
Mm-hmm.
even that, even if it impacts you, you still have to be able to adapt to that change.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, hey, Brian, I'm going to invite you in. When we make big changes, there's also these other small changes that are attached. And we don't always have vision for
Yeah.
small changes, like a story that I tell about you is when you moved to Thailand, you took the flight from Bangkok to the ultimate destination city, and you thought it was called Pattaya because it's just a phonetic English translation. The Thai letters are not, Roman letters. They're hard to read. And cab drivers could not take you to the place you were describing because you had the emphasis on the wrong syllable. It was Pattaya. And so you got your Google Translate out, and your understanding was, well, that's okay. I'll just get out Google. That's not working either. So little changes can have you sort of stub your toe while you're in the process of big changes. And one of the cab drivers finally said, Pattaya? And you're like, sure. And they're like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what it's called. Please take me there. So do you want
Yeah.
to talk about the little changes that happen along the way with the big changes?
That's interesting. Little changes with big changes. I think you can't ever fully see the process that you're engaged in when you're trying to see something. Like no one knows every single step they're going to do when they set out for a goal. So you pretty much have to have the main steps down, like you've got to understand like the main things you need to do to accomplish your goal.
Mhm.
And then any other little things that come along, you just got to be adaptable. You just got to be ready to go. You just got to be like, handle it as it comes, you know?
Yeah, that
There's no one that like,
flexibility. Yeah, you've all mentioned flexibility.
so
Yeah.
for example, like I keep bringing up chess, but like in a chess game, it's not like there's even the best player in the world, even the AI chess software doesn't know exactly what's going to happen from like the first move.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you can make an estimation once 3 or 4 or 5 moves have happened. You kind of have a sense of type of position on the board we have, how it's going to play out somewhat, but
Mhm.
there's still so many possibilities you don't know, and life is similar to that.
Mhm.
I think you just got to know what you want in life and
Mhm.
just go after it.
Mhm.
And you know, like the main steps you have to take to get there.
Mhm.
And then you just smooth out the little things that come along. That's my approach.
I
So
appreciate
that's how
that.
I would handle that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are big changes and little changes, and sometimes the little change is more disturbing. And so I do a lot of executive coaching, and sometimes people work to become leaders in their organization. They feel like it's time. Maybe they've been in the job 5 years or 10 years, and it's time that they ran the department or began project managing. And then they'll say, you know what happens now that I'm the leader? The team I lead, they bring me their problems. I don't want their problems. I don't
Mm,
want them knocking on my door that's open, if they have a problem, and they bring me their problems. I don't babysit them. Like, I don't like this part of the leadership or the project management. And so this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I've achieved my goal. And this percentage of it I like, and this I don't like. Can I lead without listening to my team and their problems? I don't know if I can. Or maybe there's some other role I could play where I'm in leadership, but there's no babysitting involved.
Mhm.
So sometimes you get somewhere and
Yeah.
realize this isn't
Let
what I
me
thought it was going to
let
be.
me let me jump in on that real quick. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to
No, please go
cut you off.
ahead.
There might be some lag, but I was just gonna say for like a work situation, I think you should really analyze what the position above you is
Mhm.
that you might get promoted to. And if you don't want that position, I think you should tell your manager that like early on. I
Mhm.
know that sounds weird, but
Mhm.
because the thing is, if they offer you the promotion and you turn it down,
Mhm.
it's kind of awkward.
Mhm.
I mean, that's fine, you can do that, but I think
Mhm.
if I was in that position, I would tell my manager, hey, I really love the actual job I do. I feel like I do really great at this. I
Mhm.
just want to keep doing this.
Mhm.
If I go have to do something else, I don't think it's going to be a good fit for me.
Mhm.
I would say something like that. There are people who have been promoted and then they ended up hating the job and then they had to quit and their old job was no longer available for them there.
Mhm.
So in that case, that was actually a mistake to take the promotion. You kind of have to like look and see like what does this person do all day? Do I actually want to do that? I
Mhm.
think you need to get clarity on that. Um, for those types of situations. That's my opinion
Yeah,
on that.
no, I appreciate that. Zian, let me invite you in to just kind of reflect about you've made some changes in some area of your life, and you realize this was a mistake. And so, first of all, you have to admit, I'm not happy with this. Second of all, you may have to admit, I wanted to change my job to be happier, and it's not the job that's going to make me happier. I have to be made happier some other way, or it's not my relationship that's going to solve my problems in life. My relationship is part of my life, but not my whole life. So I have a relationship that works, but I can't rely on my partner to make me happy. That's my job. And so I think I've achieved something that I thought would give me this, but it doesn't give me that. How do you reassess now changes that you've made? Do you want to think about that?
So that's a difficult one because then as you said, you have to just reflect on the fact that what you thought was going to benefit you isn't doing what you thought. And then again, I'll say this plenty of times, just don't beat yourself up for not being able to accomplish what you thought you were going to accomplish, because there's just there's a learning process to everything, and that's life. Consistently learning and refining and improving. At least that's what life is. That's part of what life is for me. Huge part. But just, you know, sometimes it's best to like just sit back and not take action. That's sometimes a very good strategy. Not feeling the need to just jump into new changes and shift this around or shift a bunch of things around at once. Sometimes, because there is action in inaction. There is meaningful intelligence when it comes to inactivity. And sometimes a lot of the time when you sit back and you just let things be, and you're not trying to implement changes and constantly make things happen, then it allows, you're in a certain space of energy that allows ideas and new mental frontiers and even emotional frontiers to just come out at you, like just literally make themselves visible and stand right in front of you, and you're like, oh wait, I never saw that before. And here's the thing: if you were in a period of constantly making things happen and trying to like overexerting yourself and forcing things to happen, you wouldn't see that, because you're in another space of energy where you're focused on something else. Whereas when you allow a period of inactivity to unfold, your focus isn't firmly on one thing, and it allows you to see a wider range of things that you'd gloss over, or that would fly right over your fucking head. I'm sorry. Dropped an F-bomb.
But more of the landscape that's in front of you instead of more the narrow area that you're choosing.
Exactly. And that's the benefit behind inactivity. You see more because you're not focused on solely one objective.
You know, Brian, I'll go to you, and then Jonathan. Sometimes it seems like the first place to make the change is internally, you know, to ask yourself, why do I want this change to be made? And is this the world, or is this something internal to me that I could resolve here? And then, you know, I'm going to be happier about my world, or I'll be more settled about my world. You know, making a determination about, is this some internal process that I should begin with? Sometimes they have a saying, used to, when there were cubicles in offices, there'd be little pictures that say, bloom where you are planted. Like, you know, make the best of where you are. And it's not going to be perfect all the time. It might be good a lot of the time, but sometimes you changing your response to your circumstances is enough of a change. You may not have to change the circumstances, or may be unable to change the circumstances. And so change has to be internal. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big like proponent of kind of work on the inside first. That's definitely my approach. That's pretty much always my approach. But I don't know. It's interesting. You're in a relationship with everything around you all the time.
Yeah.
So, for example, I actually sort of did an experiment today, because I do a lot of experiments. I had these like two people sitting next to me, and I didn't really want them to be there. So what I did was I just shifted my energy. I didn't say anything. And I kind of was a little bit more standoffish and aggressive just in the feeling I had. And then in a couple minutes they left, and they'd been hanging out for like 30 minutes, and I was sort of annoyed that they were hanging out. They were actually hanging out on my porch. And so I don't know, your internal world always affects the outer world. Of course, you can take actions, you can do all the practical stuff, and that's good. That's recommended.
Mhm.
But I prefer to make an internal change if I can, because I have 100% autonomy over that.
Mhm.
When you do stuff that's outer, you're
Mhm.
always in relationships. You're always having to like navigate with what other people are doing and how they're responding to you. And this, so you're in this like, constant like trying to make it work with how other people want things to go.
Mhm.
And that's fine. You can totally do that. And that can be really fun, actually.
Mhm.
Um, but just my approach to life in general, I favor internal all the time. I think most things can be resolved internally in the end.
Mhm.
And I think like even all your outer actions ultimately come from your internals anyways.
Mhm.
So for example, like if you ramp up your motivation, which is internal, if you ramp up your inspiration,
Mhm.
you're going to start taking more action.
Mhm.
So there's kind of no way to truly divorce your actions from your internals. I
Mhm.
think everything is derivative of your internals, like your internal content. So
Yeah.
that's my opinion. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Jonathan. I think this happens in the relationship side of things, sort of beginning or ending relationships. Sometimes we hear, whether it's red pill content or other kind of content, men are always like this, women are always like this. And this is who I have to be in response to the men or the women that are always fill in the blank. And as you work with clients and they tell you the repeating story of their experience with someone they're dating or the kind of person they're dating, at some point you have to say, I think the common denominator might be you. And so maybe the change needs to happen with you for you to have different results. And so let's start on the inside. How do you work with someone who's, it's out there, it's all of them. And then you might find yourself saying, what if we change something internally to see if changes appeared out here? How do you do that in relationships? I know you work in that field a lot, Jonathan.
Yes, and it happens a lot of time. I've heard it actually over and over. The common denominator, oh, all men's are assholes, and then like, oh, all women's are bitches. uh, uh, it's there
Mhm,
all the time.
mhm,
And then I agree completely. It's the inside. It's always the way. It's the only way, actually. You might think
mhm,
otherwise, but as much as you can or think you can bend the outside world, it's going to come to a point that it's going to be frustrating because you can only do it so much.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Actually, I was thinking about what is like the best in my experience. This is only my personal experience. Someone else might have a different
Sure.
idea, but when it comes to change, like what is like, yes, become the most competent version of yourself. That's obviously extremely helpful. But what is something that it's literally so easy that it's a non-brainer to
Okay.
navigate change is
Mhm,
to is to keep yourself in a vibration of gratitude. It helps a lot, but
mhm,
not just like superficial gratitude, like, oh yeah, thank you, like actual, like hard work, like actually
mhm,
looking for the things that you may not think you can be grateful for, but you
mhm,
can be grateful for many things, like the little things. So
mhm,
if you start practicing
mhm.
active gratitude, which sounds quite stupid, but I know it
It's
helps
so
a lot
effective.
because it changes
So
the whole game,
it
and you
does.
don't need to be an expert at anything. You just need to be grateful, um, and
Mhm,
it changes your whole inner world
mhm,
because once it becomes something that you do over and over again, even if something like, let's say you have an accident, like
mhm.
let's say for example, one time I was driving my car, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I destroyed it completely on the freeway. It was a total loss. And then the first thing that I thought was like, what in the fuck just happened? And then I was like, do I have all my fingers? Yes. Oh
Mhm.
my god, I'm so lucky.
Mhm.
Did I hit somebody? No. Oh, this is great. It just keeps going better. I mean, my whole car was destroyed, and I'm just thinking, okay, I have all my fingers, I can move, I have no blood, I didn't hit anyone. That's fucking amazing. I'm on the side of the road, like I'm not like in the middle causing another accident. I'm like, this is great. I turned on my car, it turned on, so I was able to exit the freeway. Like I don't even know how that happened. It was raining. Police officer, she shows up. It was a Christmas day. So then she shows up and then she's like, "Are you okay?" She's looking at me like, "Oh, like how, like what happened?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm fine." I'm like, if you don't want to do paperwork and or if you don't have to, I'm like, I'm fine. Like I'll take care of this. And she goes, "Okay, fine. If you're okay, I don't need to do anything."
Merry Christmas, buddy.
So I know. So I was like, this is great. I mean, obviously it wasn't, but the energy, it's so powerful to be in a grateful state. It just keeps getting better and better. And over time, it's the best remedy for someone that does not know how to like navigate change. That is something that I will recommend. Like this is your pill. Like take this one in the morning. Take take 3 of these ones.
Practice
Before
gratitude.
before your coffee, take 3 gratitude pills, and then you see, you come to me next week, and then we'll see how you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can tell if somebody is not actually practicing the active gratitude, because the reality inevitably it will change. There is no way it cannot.
Yes, the vibrational change. And people say, you seem so approachable, or you seem so friendly, or you're in a good mood. What's going on with you? People around you respond to that energy. And yeah, okay, so Zian, you want to speak anything about people say, okay, I keep doing the same thing and getting the same results. So some change may be needed. How do you help them say, here's where the shift might be for you to start getting different results? How do you start? And then we'll do our closing round.
Well, so a lot of the time people are a little too close to their own problems, so they can't. So even if they see what they're doing and how not it's not resulting in a desirable outcome, they don't know what they need to do to change. They don't see another path. So then you that's when you're talking to your client, or you know, having a relatively casual conversation with somebody, you ask them the pertinent questions. You ask them all really the little questions that you need to be asking them about their habits, and so that you have a clear understanding of what's unfolding and why, and then you can reflect that back to them. Like you have to be meticulous in how you go about understanding their problem, and then not pathologizing it, not trying to make them wrong either, or make them feel stuck up, but just like laying it out in an objective way and saying, this is what I see, and this is why you're not getting the desired result. This is why you're still stuck in this. You're still channeling this outcome that you don't want.
I think it's so helpful to have another pair of eyes, you know, that's not in the situation, that's not emotionally attached, that could say, you ask a friend, am I dating the same guy over and over again? And they'll say, yeah, you are. Oh, okay. Well, so I need to shift that up then. It might be me. Or, yeah, I got the promotion, but now they want me to go to these meetings. And I'm in a budget meeting every Monday. This is awful. And so, you know, you look at, okay, I might have to reassess the changes I made and change again. Or I made the really big change, and then there's all these little changes that are attached that I didn't see coming. So yeah, navigating change, I think, is something coaches certainly help with. It's something we do a lot of, and it's a necessary human skill. As Jonathan likes to say, we humans have to learn how to do this. So Brian, do you have final thoughts? How do people get a hold of you? And then tell me your song. Oh, you did, Man in the Mirror. I've got your song.
I did. Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. Yeah.
Okay.
which he went
So
into
yeah,
a
you
lot
can
of
just reach me
change.
through lifedesigned.org.
Say
And
it again. I'm sorry, Jonathan.
yeah,
I just said Michael Jackson. He went through a lot of change. It's a good
He sure
metaphor.
did. He went through a lot of changes. Okay, so
yes, he did.
he
He
changed
went
a
through a
lot.
lot of change.
So we can
Um,
read it through lifedesign.org.
yeah. Yeah, and just final thoughts for me. I saw a really interesting video today on YouTube with this woman, and she said she's a failure in every area of her life. And she was actually like happy about this. She was grateful for this, speaking to what Jonathan was saying about gratitude. She was like, you know what? She's like, I failed in my job, I failed in my relationships, whatever. I didn't get rich. She's like, but you know what? I've learned how to just love myself for just being me. And she's like, that's what's been really positive out of this experience. Like, she's like, I've learned how to just joy. She said she's learned how to enjoy just being alive, just breathing, just sitting in nature, just going for walks. And she's like, you know what? That was powerful lessons for me because before I was only loving myself on the condition that I achieved XYZ.
Yeah.
And she's like, through just failing all those things. And she's like, honestly, I wanted to fail kind of because I was feeling too much pressure about everything. And I just wanted to get everything off my back. So she's like going through that. She's like, it showed me how to just love me for just being me. Like, I am a human being. It's great to just be alive. I love myself for the way I am. I just love thinking my thoughts, breathing, eating food, spending time in nature. Like, I'm good. I don't need all this extra stuff that society is telling me to love myself or to feel good or to feel worthy or to be happy. You can have those things, but like, if it's killing you from stress to chase those things, you don't need it. You can just be a human and love yourself and accept yourself for that. So I think that's interesting. And it touches on this. Sometimes when we go through changes, we're actually being pushed into learning a lesson like that. One of those types of lessons. Sometimes life puts us through these things, but it's an opportunity for you to step into a new consciousness or a new energy where you've realized those things. You've learned those kinds of lessons. So always get the most juice out of changes. If something does change in your life, get the full lesson out of it. Get all the juice out of the damn orange. You know what I mean? Learn it.
Squeeze those
get
lemons.
everything out of it. Learn as much as you can from it. Get maximum benefits. My pool coach, he used to always say, you got to max out, man. You got to max out. Whatever you're doing, max it out. Even if you're going through a hard lesson, maximize what you learned out of it and what you got out of it and how much it made you grow. And if you do that, you will be grateful that you went through it on the other side.
So interesting. I know when people have midlife crises, sometimes they'll say, I'm in this career because my parents thought I should be a lawyer. I became a doctor because I was interested in science. I talked with a doctor recently who, coming out of the pandemic, said, I'm over being a doctor and I have 12 years of schooling. And, I don't know how this happened, but I don't want to do it anymore. And so sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where sort of life carried us along and we really weren't choosing to have 2 kids and a dog and a house and a mortgage and, and then we go, I'm not sure when I decided all this. I'm not sure this is the life I really want to be leading or how I got here. So I think when you get good at navigating change in your life, you can be paying a little closer attention to how your life is actually going and make those corrections along the way, so that you are living your happy life. So any final thoughts for you, Jonathan?
Yes, actually, what you were saying about the making decisions, like getting the house, the dogs, the kids,
Children.
all the problems, and then most of those decisions were actually made at a time where that particular human was not even conscious of his or her needs. or wants or actual desires. So back to what Sian was saying, like sometimes not taking action is the best action you can take. Just take some time to see what you really want and need. From there, you can start creating. But if you don't take some time to create, so it's tricky. So yes, sometimes inaction it's the best action that you can take. Also, when it comes to relationships, and when you were saying that sometimes humans, because I've heard this many times, especially when it comes to women, they're like, "Oh, I keep dating this asshole," and I'm like, or this new one is the same one, and I'm like, no, you're just changing. It's like changing just the facade, but you're still dating the
You
actual.
changed your outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you change your clothes, but you're still you as a being. So they're just changing the actual human, but they haven't done any inner work. And because of that, the level of like the vibration and whatever they're unconsciously attracting and attracted to is still this exactly the same. And that's the only thing they're going to keep getting. Which is a good that should be a good conversation that we can have, because there's a lot of like I've heard, yes, the red pill content and stuff, which in most cases I can see that is very extreme. So
It's clicks. It gets clicks. Yeah. So we
yeah, so it's
in cases.
the next one can be called all men are assholes, all women are bitches.
There we go.
Are
And
they?
we'll get
Are they
clicks.
not?
We'll get
Are they?
clicks.
Are they not?
How do people get a hold of you, Jonathan?
For now, they can reach me out on alivedesign.org or Instagram. That one works also. Jonathan R Coaching.
Yeah, we'll make sure everyone's
Or email also jonathanrcoaching@gmail.com. That also works great.
Good.
Yep.
Good. And we got your song, Bob Dylan.
Yes.
Put that in the link too. So Zian, final thoughts for you and how to get a hold of you. And I don't know if you have a song that makes you think about changes. We could share a song, and it's okay if you don't.
No, I don't have any songs. I do want to add on to what Jonathan said, though. It's actually well noted. Like if you go online and look it up on Google, it'll say that Google will tell you that men on like dating apps like Tinder and stuff like that, men swipe right about like 70 or 80% of the time. The figures are way up there. Women swipe right less than 10% of the time. It might even be less than 5% of the time. So these girls, they literally are choosing the same guy. They're limiting their dating pool so much that they are actually running into and unconsciously picking the same guy that they don't want to be with, because they're just so set in their ways and their preferences and their not even standards, just preferences. So they are choosing the same guy for the most part, specifically when it comes to Tinder, and even in real life, that real life behavior models those statistics outside of dating apps.
I think it's hard for people to change their patterns. And so particularly in something like relationships, you listen to what your friends say, you listen to what you see on social media, and you sort of adopt the modern way of doing something. And, then you may not be successful in doing it. So the pattern recognition coaches can help you with, and then changing those patterns so that you start to get the outcomes you desire instead of repeating outcomes that you don't desire. So yeah, this is what we do. Okay, so how do people get a hold of you, Zian?
You can reach me at alifedesign.org, or all of my social media handles are heavenlywisdom_coaching. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of it.
Great. So we'll put that in the description too. So I had two songs that I wanted to share. Whenever I think of changes, I think of David Bowie. And I think Brian decided he invented guy liner. You guys know guy liner in rock and roll? Guys that wear eyeliner. Guy liner. So he has a song changes that gets stuck in. Be careful if you listen to it. I'll put it below because it will stay in your head. Changes. So yeah, to turn around and make a change. He talks about that. And then there's another really beautiful song, though it's kind of heart-wrenching. It's a gentleman who did a cover of a Black Sabbath song called Change. And he did the cover of the song at the time his mother was dying. And so and he remembers the last words that she said to him. And so and then he sort of just, you can really see the emotion as he sings the song about some of the changes. Some of the lyrics are, I remember what she said when she walked away, kind of thing, what it's like when something comes to an end. And so, yeah, well, we'll put our song lyrics down below. People can explore change through music, and then how to get a hold of everybody. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
Yeah.
Enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of your Saturday, and we'll post this in a little while. Until next time, everyone,